issue. So all of this raises questions about the safety of Jews, our Jewish institutions, and our Jewish community, locally and globally. An example of this is now how we now require registration for events like tonight, and you saw security outside. Our community alone spends more than $1.2 million a year just on security personnel in front of our buildings. Sadly, that is the norm. Tonight, we are honored to have Michael Masters here to share more. Michael serves as the National Director and CEO of the Secure Community Network, SCN, which is responsible for the overall leadership, operation, and growth of the official safety and security organization for the Jewish communities of North America. Michael has quite an impressive background, but instead of going through his whole law enforcement background, he is a Harry S. Truman Scholar and a Gates Cambridge Trust Scholar. He has his bachelor's degree from the University of Michigan. My wife went to Ohio State, so be careful. A degree in international relations from the University of Cambridge, and a Juris Doctor from Harvard Law School, where he served as the managing editor for the Harvard International Law Journal. Michael is a recognized expert on issues related to homeland and national security, terrorism, law enforcement, anti-Semitism, and targeted violence. Michael, welcome to Portland.
Thank you very much. It is a real honor to be here. One of the best parts of my position, if there's an upside, is getting to visit 2 to 3 communities every week, and so I'm uniquely cognizant that being invited into any community is very literally being invited into your home, and it's something that I take very seriously, and I'm grateful for the invitation. 80 years ago, the largest amphibious assault in history began today. Young people from around the world parachuted from the sky, glided to the ground, and faced stormy seas and gunfire to liberate Europe from the barbarity of Nazism. Marching across Europe, these young people discovered crimes the likes of which had never been seen. They documented them for history, and those that remain with us still recall them today. So the world doesn't forget. Last month, we commemorated Yom HaShoah. On that day, we remember the 6 million of our community who were murdered. We pay tribute to those who came before us while considering what type of world it is we will impart to those who come after us. On Yom HaShoah in Israel, as many of us know, a siren rang out. Unlike so many sirens of the last days, weeks, and months, it was not a siren portending the incoming of rockets from our adversaries. It was signaling for silence. As it has every year since 1959, the entire country stood still. It shouldn't be lost on any of us that as we stood silent in honor to those taken from us as a Jewish people, it was amidst broader chants and screams. In our cities, on our campuses, chants and screams to globalize the Intifada, to kill Jews. We stood to commemorate those killed while others screamed for it to happen again. And those screams continue today. As we honor those who came before us, what world will we impart to those who come after us? What will be our legacy? Will we be silent? Will we choose to live in fear? Will we take the mezuzot off our homes? Will we tear the stars of David from around our necks? This is our choice to make. And the choice we make today, tomorrow, in the days to come, in rooms like this, in communities like this, will portend the future of Jewish life in this country and around the world today, tomorrow, and for generations to come. For 4,000 years, we have made a choice to survive. We've never faced that choice here before in the United States, and for most, I think we never thought we'd have to. But we do. Some of you may not know it, but in that process of the last several years, we have built for our community the most sophisticated security apparatus to protect any Jewish community outside of the state of Israel right here in the United States. It is protecting our community across the country and right here in Portland. It's built on 5 main pillars: intelligence and information sharing to track incidents and identify bad actors and coordinate with law enforcement; the protection of our physical facilities, from our synagogues to our day schools to our camps; training and emergency preparedness to empower our community; incident response and coordination with partners from law enforcement to the broader faith-based community. I have the privilege of leading the team of intelligence, military, and law enforcement personnel who are dedicated to serving and protecting our community around the country, just like your security director here in Portland, Jessica Anderson. Jessica, could you stand up? There she is, right back there. A dedicated member of law enforcement who served in the FBI for her career and now serves our community. Investing in security is the down payment we have to make for a Jewish future. And it is investments like the one you are making here in Portland which will ensure our Jewish future. And making that investment today is now more critical than ever. SCN serves as the official liaison to federal law enforcement, to include the FBI. Prior to October 7th, we assessed that we were facing the most complex and dynamic threat environment to ever face the Jewish community and our country in the 247-year history of our nation. Now, I can sit here and talk to you at length about the state and non-state actors from Iran and Hamas, ISIS and Al-Qaeda, supremacists and Nazis, but Mark only gave me 15 minutes. And I prefer to listen. There's an old saying from my grandmother always repeats: when people tell you who they are, listen. So in recent weeks, Iran's supreme leader vowed that the Zionist regime and people will be punished. At the same time, the Islamic State has called for a massacre of Jews here in our country. That followed a call from Al-Qaeda for shooters in the United States to act in vengeance for Palestinians in Gaza. We have seen over the last 10 weeks foiled attacks in Western Europe, South America, and Canada, and successful ones. An Islamic State affiliate attacked a concert venue in Russia, killing 1,000 innocent civilians. Make no mistake, the enemies of Israel and of America are united in their efforts. The terrorists, whether state actors like Iran or others, have made it clear that the United States, including the Jewish community, are targets for future attacks. When people tell you who they are and what they intend to do, listen. So in this reality, it's natural for people to be afraid, to be scared. But we don't need to be. We can, as we have done for thousands of years, harness our strength in the face of the hate we see today. And by standing strong, we can guarantee the strength and vibrancy of Jewish life. Just like Israel has an iron dome to protect it, we are working to build a security shield over the entirety of the Jewish community in North America. And each and every one of you is a part of that. We are not going to choose the time and place of the next incident, but we can choose our preparation. And that is what we are doing. At our command center in Chicago last year alone, we took in 5,404 incident reports, a stunning 112% increase from the year prior. Every day, our team is working with our security professionals like Jessica to collect the dots so we can connect the dots, because a threat that begins in Portland, Maine, today, tomorrow can be here in Portland, Oregon. In 2023, we referred over 1,600 individuals that presented a clear threat to life to federal law enforcement. Last month alone, we referred 76 of these individuals. Law enforcement is taking action on behalf of our community, averaging one arrest every 12 to 16 days that we can speak of. But intelligence only goes so far. Because bad actors can move faster than intelligence, it means every Jewish community, every facility like this one, and every member of the community, each and every one of us, needs to be prepared. That's why last year around the country we did 790 assessments of everything from schools to senior centers to camps, training over 59,000 people last year, to include In the program that you have here, over 2,900 that Jessica herself trained alone. If you haven't been one of them, she's right there. Find her at the end and talk to her. Our greatest enemy is not an Islamist extremist or a supremacist. It is denial. Think back to October 7th. In the midst of the violence and bloodshed, consider the Israelis, Arab and Jew alike, that ran to help. Some without weapons, some without their shoes. When rockets fall in Israel and the sirens go off, are our children too frightened to move? Do they freeze? No. And when the lives of Jews are in danger, do we scatter? No. We come together. This is what we do. It is what we have done, and it is what we must continue to do. It's what we're doing here in Portland through your federation, this remarkable organization that convenes the community collectively. And the program you have is second to none. I want to recognize and thank Mark for his partnership, leadership, and his vision. He is too humble. I could not agree more with my colleague and friend Eric Fingerhut. Our federation system recognizes that we are stronger when we work together. In 2018, Mark recognized the same model and impact as our federation system could be made with security. You were one of the first communities to adopt a new model developed with local, state, and federal law enforcement to include guidance and feedback from Jewish communities around the world and security professionals in Israel. And it has made a difference, and I think Mark deserves recognition for that, without question. I didn't bring you a cheesecake, just. Since the start of the program, we have identified 292 incidents affecting the community here in Portland. 19 incidents of a suspicious person or vehicle attempting to gain entry to a facility, 15 incidents of anti-Semitic flyering, 11 incidents of harassment. In each instance, your security professional, and supported by the team and network of security professionals of over 110 around the country, and this federation have worked to protect the community. Since the program began, 142 walkthroughs and assessments have been done. Jessica did 35% of those just in the last 18 months. She has worked to protect 34 events with detailed security plans, 212 trainings, 167 formal meetings with law enforcement since 2023 alone, and roughly $4.87 million in federal grant funds secured since we began the program in 2019. $1.76 million last year alone, a record high. The investments in this federation's security program have been returned to the community 15 times over in hard dollars that have put fences around facilities, bollards and access control systems on our synagogues and our day schools and our JCC. This is the value of a best practice program overseen by a professional, engaging volunteers in the community and each and every one of you. I have had the pleasure of traveling around the country to so many different communities, but it has also meant that I have stood in far too many places that have been plagued by violence. Our houses of worship desecrated, our sacred spaces violated. In Pittsburgh, Poway, Colleyville, bullet holes in doors and windows. The adversaries we face are not interested in persuading us. They are interested in ending us. They don't want debate or dialogue. They are calling for death. And does anyone believe, for a second, that if we give them even one iota of what they want, they will be satisfied? Does anyone believe that they will stop at ripping down the Israeli or American flag on our campuses? Or do we believe that they won't stop until they've torn the Israeli flag down from the Knesset and the American flag off of our Capitol? The question is, are we going to let them? Think back to October 7th, to how we all felt that day. to seeing our community terrorized, brutalized, our kids being taken away in vehicles and on motorcycles, vanished, over 125 still not accounted for. And think about how this community came together after. In weeks, we raised over $800 million. $800 million. This is one of our greatest strengths as a people, to come together, to convene, to raise up Soviet Jewry, to rescue Jews in Ethiopia and Venezuela. But it's also a weakness, because our enemies know that they only need to get one of us somewhere. And it doesn't matter if it's in Seattle or Sderot. Over $800 million to deal with the rampage of monsters. Now, what if we knew, or what if I told you, that on October 6th, for a fraction of the cost, we could prevent the bloodshed? Would we have taken that? What if we could go back to October 26, 2018, the day before the massacre in Pittsburgh, or January 14th, before the hostage attack in Colleyville? Would you make that investment the day before? That is the choice before us today. It is the investment that you have chosen to make in this community. It is the choice that we need to make in every community. Our kids are walking across our campuses and through our schools while facing the slogans associated with Hamas, a designated foreign terrorist organization. That is not free speech, it is support for a foreign terrorist organization. But our enemies are only going to be successful if we let them. For 4,000 years, we've outlasted them. Think of which enemy still exists on this planet that we've faced over our history. That's why meetings like this are so important, and the work that your federation and all of you are doing is so critical. Our success will be assured if we work together. We have a choice to make. We are working together to make that choice. I often think about our Passover holiday this time of year, not the least of which because my grandmother forces me to never forget it. She hosts. The story of Exodus is our history. From Egypt, Spain, Russia, Europe, it doesn't need to be our future. We have the ability and the strength when standing together to say we are not going anywhere. We are not going to take down the mezuzot from our doors. We are not going to tell our kids to hide their stars of David. We are going to support our kids when they want to march proudly as Jews wherever any American should be allowed to march. And if I think back to Yom HaShoah and those that were taken from us, what would they say to us if their voices could transcend time and distance? Would they tell us to be quiet? Would they tell us to sit down? I think they would say, don't let this happen again. And of those who remain from our greatest generation, who stood yesterday in Portsmouth and Normandy, those that are still there, would they tell us the price they paid or their comrades paid was too high for freedom? Or would they say they would do it again if time and age weren't a factor? We owe it to them and our children to say never again, and to let our enemies know we mean it. We are not going anywhere. Thank you.